Inside the Flagstaff courthouse that morning, murmurs rolled like a low thunder as onlookers tried to make sense of the storm breaking in real time. What had long been whispered about in fan forums was suddenly being carved into the public record by a real judge with the power to compel testimony and issue warrants. For years, followers of Sister Wives wondered what Robyn Brown actually knew, how deep the financial games really went, and whether the image of the patient mediator was more facade than fact. But now there was no guesswork. No half-baked internet theories. There was a gavel, sworn affidavits, and prosecutors laying out transactions line by line. In a stunning twist no one thought would happen to a reality TV figure, a bench warrant with Robyn's name on it was read aloud, commanding law enforcement to act. How had the woman once portrayed as peacemaker of a sprawling plural family ended up as the center of a legal firestorm? The trail ran through years of opaque bookkeeping, unexplained transfers, and sworn statements that painted such a grim picture the court had little choice but to escalate. What began as small anomalies in a blended family's finances, odd deposits, unexplained perks, expenses framed as talent retention, grew into a pattern of large sums bypassing shared accounts and landing exclusively in Robyn's control. Internal spreadsheets leaked by a former insider showed 5-figure and 6-figure transfers, tagged with corporate jargon, but in reality skipping the communal pot the Browns always claimed to use. Christine, Mary, and Janelle, long told there was barely enough to go around, began quietly consulting lawyers as they noticed luxury cars, trips and renovations flowing only to one wife while their own projects stalled. Sources described it as a shadow economy inside the family. Plenty of money, but only for Robyn. Once subpoenas hit, the illusion shattered. Robyn, the stable one, suddenly found herself fighting motions to produce bank statements, offshore ledgers, and personal spending logs. Her attorneys argued complexity and misunderstanding. The opposition called it a deliberate scheme. Court-appointed auditors combed years of data and uncovered not only repeated questionable transfers, but undisclosed overseas accounts never shared with the family's bookkeepers. At Coyote Pass, what had been a set for smiling publicity shots turned into a pressure cooker of hushed arguments and visible stress. Investigators also found inconsistencies between Robyn's past sworn statements and new evidence, small contradictions that became big weapons in cross-examination. Meanwhile, the media turned the courthouse into a circus. Paparazzi camped outside. Social feeds dissected every leak. What began as a civil accounting dispute now looked like fraud, misallocation of funds, and a betrayal of both family trust and business obligations. The first major hearing arrived under a crush of cameras. Robyn's legal team painted her as a caregiver overwhelmed by multi-household finances. Prosecutors rolled out a meticulous timeline of transfers and purchases that appeared to evade both family oversight and legal norms. Under questioning, Robyn was pressed on the offshore accounts and on high-end expenditures unrelated to family enterprises. Her answers were cautious, but the inconsistencies in her earlier versions started to show. Observers noted her voice catch, her pauses, as if she weighed each word for landmines. Then prosecutors produced internal emails and receipts hinting at concealment. The gallery gasped. The judge's expression hardened. This was the first time Robyn had to respond under direct judicial scrutiny, and her credibility was on the line. By the end of the day, loopholes and contradictions had been highlighted for future charges, and headlines about Robyn's tense cross-examination exploded online. Subsequent sessions added bombshells, confidential emails, contracts, and sworn statements from ex-employees and advisors describing decisions made off the books and accounts altered to avoid criticism. Each new witness tightened the net. Robyn's lawyer cried misinterpretation. The prosecution built timelines, digital trails, and expert testimony to show intent. Clips of witnesses went viral, supporters and detractors picked apart Robyn's every reaction, and hashtags about the case trended globally. Bank records of shell transfers and travel logs contradicted Robyn's image of frugality. She grew more guarded as the prosecutors grew bolder, and the judge made clear this was now about public accountability, not just family drama. By evening, the talk wasn't only about spreadsheets, but about an arrest warrant looming in the background. Outside, pundits on morning shows read snippets of filings. Inside, cameras captured every twitch of Robyn's hands, every whisper between counsel. Then the tension snapped. "Your Honor, this is unfair," she blurted, standing up mid-testimony. Gasps echoed through the room. The judge rapped the bench. "Ms. Brown, you will compose yourself." Her attorney tried to calm her. She pushed his hand away, face flushed. Social media instantly labeled it Robyn's courtroom meltdown. Prosecutors pressed on, presenting yet more hidden evidence as Robyn's composure frayed. The judge called a recess so she could collect herself. Commentators outside debated whether the outburst was guilt or stress. When proceedings resumed, the judge's tone was iron. "Recent developments and continued noncompliance leave this court no option," he began. A collective intake of breath rippled across the gallery. Effective immediately, a warrant issues for the arrest of Robyn Brown for contempt of court and failure to obey lawful orders. Shock rolled through the room. Cameras broadcast Robyn's stunned face to a world glued to live feeds. Robyn Brown arrest warrant rocketed up the trending lists. Her lawyer jumped up seeking a stay, calling it unprecedented. The judge, unmoved, cited repeated delays, incomplete disclosures, and deceptive testimony. "The warrant takes effect now," he said, adding that her rights and safety would be protected, but the court's authority had to be upheld. Robyn gripped the table edge, pale, trembling as the reality hit. Reporters scribbled furiously. Camera lenses zoomed on every detail, and social channels erupted with speculation. What had begun as whispers of impropriety had become a full-blown legal tempest, reshaping not only Robyn Brown's future, but the entire story the Browns had sold the world, and setting the stage for the next act of a drama no reality TV camera ever expected to catch. Was this the end of Robyn Brown's freedom, the true pivot point in the saga that had captivated Sister Wives followers for over a decade? Inside the courthouse, the prosecutors sat back, the faintest hint of satisfaction flickering across their faces. Their patient strategy of exposing contradiction after contradiction had reached its climax, creating a headline-ready moment. Robyn, shaken but regaining a trace of composure, bent toward her attorney and whispered that they needed a plan now. He nodded grimly, understanding the uphill climb ahead. The judge recessed so the paperwork for the warrant could be formalized, giving the state authority to act. "Miss Brown has ignored orders and subpoenas again and again," one lawyer told the court, his words echoing like a hammer blow and signaling that the net was closing. Robyn's team huddled, whispering frantic strategies as she sat rigid and silent, her expression a cocktail of defiance and alarm. Beyond the doors, pundits debated whether the judge's warning was a clever tactic to force compliance or the first step toward a genuine arrest. Headlines scrolled, "Robyn Brown given court ultimatum. Arrest looms for Sister Wives star. Judge lowers the boom." Viewers sensed that every action and hesitation might decide if Robyn walked free or was taken into custody. When court resumed the next day, the building buzzed with anticipation. Reporters, attorneys, and spectators all felt the shift. The judge's prior admonition still hung over Robyn like a storm cloud. The prosecution entered with a heavy binder of previously unseen documents, sparking instant social media speculation about hidden evidence that could upend everything. "These records go directly to Ms. Brown's compliance with this court," the judge announced as the clerk distributed copies. Robyn's lawyers scanned the pages, their practiced calm beginning to crack as they found bank statements, message logs, and in-house contracts at odds with her sworn testimony. "Your Honor," the district attorney said, "this shows a deliberate effort to conceal and withhold material facts. Swift action is warranted." Even veteran reporters caught their breath at the legal fireworks. Robyn's defense tried to blunt the impact, insisting there were explanations and asking for time. But the judge's patience had evaporated. She had already been given extensions, he said, and the evidence would be dealt with now. Nervous murmurs rolled through the gallery and online forums lit up with posts like, "This is the moment her case collapses." Robyn sat stiffly, reading the pages herself, her normally calm face betraying flashes of shock and anger as the legal noose tightened. During a recess, the courthouse steps became a media hive. Analysts on live feeds, fans speculating wildly, supporters waving justice for Robyn placards while critics posted memes. Inside her inner circle, messages flew as advisors drafted statements emphasizing due process and portraying her as cooperative, not criminal. Meanwhile, reaction channels on YouTube, TikTok explainers, and Twitter threads dissected every motion and transcript, while celebrity pundits weighed in on morning shows about what this meant for Kody Brown and the entire family brand. Petitions circulated online demanding transparency and fair treatment. Thousands of supportive comments poured into Robyn's accounts, casting her as calm and truthful under siege. By nightfall, the warrant had become more than a legal instrument. It was a viral symbol at the intersection of reality TV, court drama, and public opinion. Each clip of courtroom footage was replayed, every eyebrow raise parsed. Overwhelmed but resolute, Robyn recognized that the coming days would demand maximum strategy, resilience, and public relations skill. The next morning, the courthouse steps swarmed again, everyone aware that the next few hours could seal both her fate and the future of the sister wives' narrative. Robyn arrived with her attorneys in muted professional dress, steering clear of cameras but radiating composure. Inside, prosecutors rolled out a rapid-fire list of alleged violations and fiscal irregularities designed to paint her as defiant and guilty. Her lawyers countered with a detailed timeline portraying her as transparent and compliant, pointing out procedural flaws in the warrant and reaffirming her intent to resolve matters lawfully. Legal papers, witness statements, and transaction records formed a counter-narrative on the defense table. When Robyn herself addressed the judge, her voice was steady but trembling as she spoke of devotion to her family, respect for the legal system, and hope for fair treatment, each word a bid to reclaim credibility. Outside, live streams captured her every movement. Commentators broke down every